I don't know, man. Listen, man, I've been waiting all night from last night, man, till this morning to do this video, man, to talk about the news that broke last night. Do you guys remember? It was just a couple of weeks ago, right? A couple of weeks ago, I called out Fightful and I called out Sean Ross Sapp over the fact that Mercedes had creative control. There was a big argument that led Sean to call me in the middle of the night while I was sleeping, like a jaded ex-lover, 6 different times, from 2 different numbers, by the way. Whether it was him or somebody else remains unknown, but all of that argument started over who has it and who doesn't in AEW as far as the topic of creative control. I said vehemently, people have creative control in AEW. A lot of the ex-WWE guys have creative control. Creative control is running wild in AEW. And this is the kicker, folks. This is what their excuse is. Creative input is not creative control. It is when your boss doesn't say anything but, sure, go ahead. Why, by all means, do what you want to do. I don't give a shit. That is creative control. He's giving them the proverbial steering wheel to go and do whatever they want to do, to go and venture off wherever they want to go. There was a story that came out last night. We actually talked about it on TNT just briefly. I joked about it. I'm like, well, man, that's quite the creative control they got over there. Details on the Hurt Syndicate and frustrations within AEW regarding them. Now, apparently, there's a big issue backstage with MVP, who has Backstage Heat, and who the Hurt Syndicate wants to wrestle, and at the end of the day, who they will and will not lose to. And it's not, going back and forth. They outright said, we will not lose to so-and-so team. We do not want to lose to so-and-so team. Gee, man, it sounds like creative control. If you ask me, we're going to get into it today, right here on Off the Script. It is your Wednesday, August 6th, 2025. There have been rumors about the Hurt Syndicate, specifically MVP, and the tag team title run around them. The tag team division is fucking awful in AEW. I don't know where it went from yesteryear. I don't know why the care in that company seemingly has gone out the fucking window in regards to the tag team division. It is awful. There's no other way to put it. It is awful. I don't know where they're going with it, but they clearly put the belts on the Hurt Syndicate, and this is what I heard from the sickos. This was a good thing that they beat Private Party, because the belts on the Hurt Syndicate would revitalize the tag team division and the tag team championships, because they are now on a legit team. What good does it do if that legit team refuses to put over any other team in the division, especially a youthful team in the division? It's awful. A recent Twitter space from the Wrestling Binders J-Cup 2013 that included a number of issues that Fightful Select has also heard discussed over a number of months. On the space, it was claimed that MVP had rubbed a lot of people the wrong way, resulting in Backstage Heat, which is something that had been echoed by a number of talent for the last couple of months. We haven't particularly heard anything regarding Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin specifically, but it has been well known backstage that MVP dislikes Speedball Mike Bailey. And a number of talent said that MVP made that clear and that he didn't want Hurt Syndicate losing to Jet Speed. So I really don't even know what to think about that. He just doesn't like Speedball Mike Bailey. No reason was given. Does he not like the fact that he is Karate Kid reincarnate? Does he not like the fact that his hairstyle is very much outdated? Does he not like the fact that he wrestles with no shoes on, no wrestling boots on? Or maybe he just looks at Speedball Mike Bailey and singled Speedball Mike Bailey out because Speedball Mike Bailey is very indicative. Speedball's style, Speedball's look, Speedball's stature is very indicative of what AEW usually pushes. Now, knowing MVP coming from where he came from with Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin, I mean, it is not that difficult to see who's the star or stars and who is not the star. Maybe that's the reason why he doesn't like him. Secondly, Hurt Syndicate shouldn't be losing to Jet Speed. They were paired together because your division is dead, Tony. We're not stupid. We see it. There's no care in the division, and you thought by alleviating the fucking painful division that you have, you felt like pairing Jet Speed together with two of your newest guys, because they're the flavor of the month, that it would do good for the division. Meanwhile, you went into that tag team match at All In with absolutely zero, and I mean zero momentum. On what earth, what planet would Jet Speed beat the Hurt Syndicate? So if there's anything I agree with here in this report, it's MVP not wanting to lose to Jet Speed. There was no story. There was no build. First of all, the build was fucking awful. Tony Khan set his creative out there to let these guys get beat up in the worst and most comical way possible, to a point where he really thought that they were going to garner sympathy for Kevin Knight, who gets zero reaction, and Speedball Mike Bailey. All you did was portray them and present them as a bunch of losers. And that's exactly what they are. What have they done since? Wrestle a match for what? $300,000? I agree with MVP. They should not be losing to a team comprised of Jet Speed, Speedball Mike Bailey, and Kevin Knight. To be clear, says Fightful, we were never told it was in the cards for them to lose to Jet Speed. Good. Nobody that we spoke to knew of a specific reason for MVP's dislike of Mike Bailey. Of the numerous people on the talent or roster that we spoke to, they said that this year was the best they've seen the locker room in years, and that most of the roster just dismisses issues. So they put out this report that clearly is controversial, and then they reach out to a number of talent on the roster to get a let's put out the flames type of deal in the same report. And they got a quote back from several in the locker room saying, well, this is the best locker room that we've seen in years. Everybody loves what's going on. Everything's great. How don't you see what's going on here? They put out something, and in the same report, they try to dumb it down. Oh, it's not as bad as everybody makes it out to be. And the roster just dismisses issues. I find that to be very comical, being that the issues that plague AEW are pretty fucking serious. Your ratings are down, your demos are down, your overall interest is down, your product is ice fucking cold. Yeah, we just dismiss the issue or issues. Does nothing bother anybody there? Is being solidly the number 2 promotion with declining ratings and declining interest in a fucking demo that Tony Khan's got to shill, not the 18 to 49 demo, it's the fucking 24 to 54 fucking demo, because the 18 to 49 demo has fucking completely gone on to do something else. They don't deem AEW cool anymore. You know when it was cool? When Punk and Cody Rhodes were there. Gee, I wonder what they went on to do. They dismiss issues. If you want to know what's wrong with the fucking company, just read that last line in this report put out by Fightful. They dismiss issues. Maybe if you didn't, things would be a little bit better. There have been a number of creative pitches. This is where it gets juicy and good. There have been a number of creative pitches, and we should be clear that the following are claims we've heard within the company, and we aren't sure how far they've got. One of these pitches I also heard directly from someone. I will not reveal who, but it ended up being the case because what I heard is very much in this report. One of the pitches was for FTR to win at All In to start a redemption story. Now, they did win. They wrestled the Outrunners. I don't know if that's part of the redemption story or not. I don't know. It doesn't really say who they were supposed to wrestle and who the redemption story was supposed to be against. Was it going to be the Hurt Syndicate? I don't know. FTR was pitched to face Swerve and Ospreay as well, but Ospreay's injury derailed all his creative plans after All In. FTR would then go on to face Cope and Christian down the line. The claim internally was that the Hurt Syndicate said no. They said no to losing to FTR at both All In and the upcoming Forbidden Door. So let me get this straight, because this is where it was going on television. And the only thing that made sense, because we talked about it weekly for a few weeks at least on the podcast on Wednesday. One of the pitches was FTR to win at All In, starting a redemption story. So I'm assuming that it would have been against the Hurt Syndicate, winning the tag team titles, getting the title shot, winning the tag team titles at All In, and then having their redemption story build into Toronto, going into All Out against Cope and Christian, and they defend the titles against Cope and Christian at All Out. That's what I'm gathering from this report. FTR was pitched to face Swerve and Ospreay. I'm assuming that would have been the match for Forbidden Door, because Ospreay and Swerve beat the Young Bucks. I genuinely heard from someone, not going to say who, that the plan was for Ospreay and Swerve to remain a tag team and potentially win the tag team championships. One of the things that isn't in the report is that it was pitched internally for Swerve and Ospreay to beat the Hurt Syndicate, because the Hurt Syndicate didn't want to lose to anybody else on the roster, and they wanted their loss to be a substantial loss to people that were believable. And Swerve and Ospreay would be believable. Ospreay would be teaming with Swerve, who also had a problem with the Hurt Syndicate, which remained unfinished and seemingly dropped when they did. They wrestled Swerve and Bobby Lashley at Full Gear, and they never revisited it again. So these are the things that I see with my own eyes, and then I got told by somebody there that the issue with Swerve and Ospreay would continue as a team going into Forbidden Door. It would get Ospreay on the card because he's not going to be pictured or factored into the World Championship. And Swerve wasn't really going to do much of anything either, because he had put his differences aside with Hangman. Where would they go? Clearly, it was a natural direction for MJF to get into the World Championship title picture, because now he's got that contract, being that he won the gauntlet match at All In. So they were very much going to keep Swerve and Ospreay as a tag team, and they were probably going to get a tag team title match at Forbidden Door, whether it was against the Hurt Syndicate or FTR. Now, it says FTR and the Hurt Syndicate should have happened at All In. Hurt Syndicate refused to lose to FTR. If FTR was not factored in this thing and the Hurt Syndicate walked out of the tag team championship match at All In with the titles, they very much would have went into Forbidden Door defending against Ospreay and Swerve, but Ospreay is now out, and there's no build. He's not on television, and nobody knows if he's actually going to be back at Forbidden Door, just back, or in a wrestling capacity back at All In, or at Forbidden Door. So it seemingly sounds like the Hurt Syndicate is saying no to losing to FTR at All In and Forbidden Door. Where is Tony Khan in all this? Where is Tony Khan? Why is this allowed to be? Tony writes the checks, Tony hands out the checks, and Tony pays the talent to work for him and AEW. Why are the Hurt Syndicate vehemently and outwardly saying, we are not going to lose to FTR, and that's the way it's going to be? And then Tony Khan says, sure, whatever you guys want, figure it out. I don't understand how anybody at Fightful doesn't understand. I mean, these people claim that they're the biggest publication in all of pro wrestling in the IWC, yet they act as if they're fucking amateur hour. I mean, I don't know. Do they share one brain between all of them? What do you deem creative control? I can't wait for people out there in Fightful or fans of Fightful. Oh, well, you think creative control is like the Hogan-esque contract that he had in WCW. Motherfucker, I never said anything about anybody having creative control in their fucking in their contracts. This is creative control. What don't you grasp? Why is this accepted? Yet sap like a fucking retard goes out there on fucking Tony Khan's media call, and again, this fucking shit is so pathetic, man. He starts the media call off by asking about Mercedes creative control during the biggest week that AEW has all year, just to prove everybody is wrong and he is right. And what I find funny is that he put this fucking thing out today behind a paywall, and it's about creative control and Hurt Syndicate having creative control. You cannot make this shit up. This isn't even creative input at this point. They said no. They were given a directive, and they said no. Where's Tony Khan? Who's running AEW? If you give Hurt Syndicate the option to say yes or no, and then you have absolutely nothing to do with it, that's creative control. They said no to losing to FTR at All In and Forbidden Door, and nothing's being done about it. If you hear them tell you, we're not doing this, and you don't do anything about it, and tell them, fuck off, it's my company, you're losing to who I want you to lose to at this show. If you don't do that, it is creative control. You willingly are giving them the power to do what they want. This isn't even fucking input. This is well beyond input. Hilarious. It's hilarious. All the shit and the fucking phone calls that I got to prove me that I was wrong. You just outwardly, without even mentioning anything about me, proved that I was right. How do you people believe this shit? It gets better. I don't know what the fuck is going on back there. It gets better. Instead, MVP had stated that the team preferred to lose the championships to younger teams or talent. Really? Who exactly would that be, MVP? MVP's personal preferences were the Gates of Agony. Oh, man. The Outrunners and Private Party. There was also discussion that they would have been open to losing to Swerve Strickland and Will. Yeah, no shit. No shit. Open to losing to Swerve Strickland and Will Ospreay, but we were told due to Ospreay's neck injury, that wasn't much of a consideration. Oh, they would have lost the belts to Will Ospreay and Swerve Strickland in London at Forbidden Door because I said the FTR Cope and Christian match that we're more than likely getting in Toronto at All Out doesn't need the tag team championships. So that would have absolutely been the direction if Ospreay was able to wrestle. Their preferences were to lose to the Gates of Agony, the Outrunners, and Private Party. But they buried all of those teams. They didn't just beat those teams. They buried those teams. Does anybody remember how they treated Private Party? They beat Private Party, and we haven't seen or heard of Private Party since. Now, you can speculate on what happened to Private Party. Are they in Guantanamo Bay? Did Tony get a whiff that they want to go to WWE and don't want to come back to AEW, so he seemingly took them off television? Sounds like it's the direction that it went. We haven't seen or heard from them since. And they got fucking buried. Have you guys seen Mark Quinn, by the way? The guy is built like a fucking house now. I don't know what it's like he went into a fucking alternate dimension and he came back a different person. Now, I don't know if they're coming back and they are going to lose the titles to Private Party. Maybe that's why Mark Quinn looks like a fucking brick shithouse. But Maybe he's getting ready for that WWE run, and he knows the WWE is all about aesthetics. He looks like he looks 3 times the size of what he used to look like. Private Party got buried. No, but they wanted to lose the tag team titles to Private Party. When exactly, MVP? The Outrunners? That ship sailed fucking 8 months ago. Maybe that should have happened at Dynasty or whenever the fuck they wrestled them. You know how that match came about? They won a gauntlet match or what, a fatal 4-way, a triple threat, an eliminator, whatever the fuck Tony Khan does on television. They won the right to wrestle the Hurt Syndicate, and then it didn't even feel like a pay-per-view match. It felt like a fucking AEW dark match. And guess what, chat? They got buried. Didn't stand a chance. They were not built up in a believable way. They were not given any presentation whatsoever to look like they could stand next to the Hurt Syndicate. I love how these reports claim that MVP wanted to lose the championships to younger teams, yet the Hurt Syndicate did absolutely fuck all to make these teams look credible in any sense of the word. I would believe it if these teams actually were something on television. But you slaughtered them. You let all 6 of these guys out to pasture, and they were fucking slaughtered. No, but you want to put them in a position to get the titles onto a younger team. You beat them all. I don't believe you. I don't believe you for a fucking second. It was also a discussion that they would have been open to losing to Swerve and Ospreay. That's the only thing I believe. Because that's exactly where the direction was going. When checking in the company about preferred teams of Hurt Syndicate to lose to, it was noted that Hurt Syndicate has already beaten all 3 teams. The frustration from the locker room is that the team are heels that do cool moves, beat everyone up, and give the fans high fives on the way out. You mean the locker room is frustrated? Color me fucking shocked. The locker room is frustrated, and this is where I'll stand with the Hurt Syndicate. The locker room is frustrated because outside of MJF and maybe Hangman, Swerve, outside of those core top guys, and even with some of them outside MJF, you're pushing it. Nobody looks like a fucking star on this show. So the locker room is frustrated that the heels are doing heel shit. The heels look good. They sound good, and the crowd is reacting to it. They beat everybody up and give the fans high fives on the way out. The fans are recognizing something that the locker room clearly is not, and I'm not really surprised that the locker room is this fucking stupid. The Hurt Syndicate look like superstars. They don't look like indie vanilla midgets coming off of a fucking indie mud show, dripping wet, 190 pounds. They look like champions. Maybe if you understood what the fuck you need to do to get AEW in the position that it needs to be in, instead of fucking operating like an amateur hour out there every fucking week, what you need to look like and what you need to sound like and how you got to be presented is the way MVP presents Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin. And whoever else is going to join the fucking group. You're frustrated. Maybe you should up your own fucking game. There were hints to us, says Fightful, that MJF and the Hurt Syndicate were originally supposed to last longer, but we're told that there isn't heat between MJF and the Hurt Syndicate. Yeah, just wait till MJF has to wrestle Bobby Lashley, and then there'll be heat on the creative control. Who wins and who loses? Just wait. Specifically, we're told MJF and the Hurt Syndicate have no issues behind the scenes. Anything else mentioned that has been rumored, we can't speak to, says Fightful. You know, the one thing that really jumps out at me, and Dax is an asshole, and his behavior on social media is fucking absolutely offensive. And it just goes to show you the culture that the AEW locker room has cultivated, the attitude that they've cultivated in the locker room because of poor leadership. Because nobody gives a fuck. You got a leader who doesn't give a shit, who marks out over every little thing and wants to pretend like he's fucking 10 years old all over again, and he's got all his toys that he can play with now in real life. He don't give a fuck. So he lets his roster and his talent go out there and do and say whatever the fuck they want while killing all credibility for the company and just maintaining that sicko mentality just for the sickos, right? They don't give a shit about anybody else. Meanwhile, WWE's out here making fucking $3.5 billion deals with ESPN, and AEW is still catering to the fucking fat slob who sits behind his desktop typing on Reddit how he loves AEW. Drool coming down his face and Dorito crumbs in his goatee. He hasn't seen a fucking an ounce of sunlight in fucking 8 weeks. These are the people that they cater to. Dax is an asshole. I will never take anything away from FTR. FTR, if not one of, they are the most credible tag team and one of the most legit tag teams of our generation. And I don't believe I'm going to say this because I don't like the way he's behaved on social media. If you find a problem to lose to FTR, a team like FTR, that says more about Hurt Syndicate than it does FTR. That says more about fucking Tony Khan than anything. Because if Hurt Syndicate is telling Creative, or Tony, in this case, it better be fucking Tony. If the Hurt Syndicate is telling Tony Khan, we don't want to lose, we are not going to lose to FTR, and then Tony does nothing about it, how the fuck does FTR take that as anything good? That would be, if I'm Dax or if I'm Cash, I'm looking at Tony Khan, I'm like, bro, what the fuck? We're not good enough to beat the Hurt Syndicate? We're not legit enough to beat the Hurt Syndicate? Who the fuck do you want to exactly drop the tag team titles to, if not for FTR? I can't wait for the fucking Young Bucks to have their redemption story and beat the Hurt Syndicate for the tag team titles, just to say that they did it. They lost their EVP status. I wouldn't be fucking shocked at all to see the Young Bucks as a babyface tag team take the belts off the Hurt Syndicate because they fucking can't come to a conclusion to put the belts on anybody else. That sounds better. From what I gather here, there is absolutely no leadership in any aspect of AEW to a point where you have the Hurt Syndicate basically telling Tony what they want to do and what they don't want to do. Creative control. That type of shit's not in their contract. But I just find it funny how none of this, Bobby Lashley and Vince McMahon, they go hand in hand. He loved Bobby Lashley. He looked at Bobby Lashley as a prize piece for many years there, especially in his second run. WWE champion, he was as a badass as they come. Do you honestly think that Vince McMahon would take any lip from MVP or Bobby Lashley, Shelton Benjamin, to do anything on television that they did or did not want to do? Do you even come to a fucking thought and say to yourself, would they do this to Vince McMahon? Of course they wouldn't. They know exactly where they're working. They know exactly what environment they stepped into. And this Hurt Syndicate, this Hurt business, would never be seen or heard from in WWE. The fact that they're here now and they're able to push their weight goes to show you plainly, in plain sight, clear as day, what the problem is. There's no leadership. How do you come from one company and abide by all of their creative and their fucking rules to come here and start making your own fucking rules and telling the boss who you want to lose to and who you don't want to lose to? They understand the environment that they walk into, and they understand how easy it is to get what the fuck they want because the leadership is absolute fucking garbage. Yet everybody's going to sit there and glaze AEW and fucking say everything is great. There's a reason why this entire report happened. Tony Khan. Tony Khan. Now, All In is over. Forbidden Door is on the way. I pray to God something happened between this report and Forbidden Door. FTR should absolutely win the tournament that they have going on TV right now to wrestle the Hurt Syndicate. The Hurt Syndicate should absolutely lose the tag team titles to FTR because they are one of the more legit, if not the most legit tag team in the fucking business right now, no matter what you think of Dax and his behavior. Losing to FTR should be a fucking great thing because they don't put on bad matches, and they'll probably bring the Hurt Syndicate to the best match of their AEW run. And it's something that I'd genuinely be curious in to see how they operate together. Two different styles. FTR wins the belts. Cope and Christian get back together. Tag team title match at All Out in Toronto. Cope and Christian beat FTR for the tag team championships. Yes, it would be a hot potato of the tag team titles, but do you expect Tony Khan to have Edge and Christian on his tag team roster and not give them the tag team titles in Toronto? He's going to mark out like a fucking 6-year-old. MJF will probably turn on Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin for how they treated him, and we'll probably get MJF versus Bobby Lashley at All Out. And I assume that betrayal or turn on the Hurt Syndicate by MJF is going to happen at Forbidden Door during the match with FTR because FTR and MJF have some sort of history together. So they play into that. This entire report is fucking absolutely sad. It's laughable and it's pathetic. They basically admitted without saying it. And then Sap, I saw you, bro. Because I know you're watching this. I saw you. You deleted a tweet last night saying, I'm not going to aggregate my own report. I'm just going to say, please go out there and sign up for Fightful Select. He deleted the tweet because he didn't want to aggregate this because he knew exactly what he did in this report. Creative control, bro. Creative control. You give someone that type of power and you give them the power to say no and defiantly mean it. It's creative control. AEW is a fucking joke. And they have absolutely no leadership. You want to know why they're a sinking ship? Just look at this fucking report. Thank you guys very much for all of your supports. If you guys did enjoy today's video, make sure you guys hit that thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button down below. Turn on the bell for notifications. Go check out all the content. I've been going since last Monday, bro. I'm fucking tired. I really am. But we got to keep the train going, bro. We'll be live tonight. AEW Dynamite. Nobody's talking about AEW because they're ice fucking cold. Nobody's talking about it. We'll probably talk about this again later tonight with Jesse. So make sure you guys tune in tonight for the post show. Last night, the Solid Monster and I, SummerSlam, extensive SummerSlam coverage. We talked about everything you wanted to know and our feelings, our true feelings about Brock Lesnar being back in WWE and what it means for WWE. The Janelle Grant lawsuit with Vince McMahon. Go and check it out, man. An excellent listen. So please go and do that for me. All on the homepage. Hit that thumbs up. Let's try for 1,000 likes on today's video. And I will see you back live right here tonight with Jesse for the AEW Dynamite post right here on Off the Script. I'll see you guys later.